Welcome back, Knaves, to the trophy room. This is Oblivion Cubed, and we are continuing A Strange House and Other Oddities by the wonderful folks at Keep. Crumbling Keep. So far, we have gone through a couple of the rooms, right? We went through the kitchen, we drank some beer, we turned stone, we fought a stork knight, got a whole bunch of coins, gold, and we met a bug in a head that told us that a bird in a chimney was a giant a-hole. Now, we haven't met the bird in the chimney, so we don't really know much. I don't know much about that so far. And we ended last session by ascending what we assume to be a ladder from the what room was this called? The sitting room, up into the trophy room. So the sitting room and the trophy room, just by the name of it, suggests that this is the huntswoman's quarters. We don't know where she is. If we run across her, that will be an interesting eventuality. Hopefully we won't. But yeah, we had come up here and then we kind of just ended. So we haven't read this room's description, which we will start with right now. So we don't know this woman's name. Shiswai is one of the, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's one of the two women that live in this house. But we have not yet, as our characters, actually ran across this name ever before. So what we see is trophies hanging on walls, and there is a young silver dragon's head, a basilisk's head, a freestanding polar bear, and a stuffed beholder with its eye stalks held up by wires. In addition, there's a body of an elk from the neck down, as seen from the back, attached to the wall. Its head is on the outside. Interesting. Any of the trophies will animate if approached. So, of course, we don't know that as characters yet, that they'll animate. I imagine this to be a relatively small room, right? Kind of 20 by 20. I was going to say 20 by 20, but like 20 square feet, right? Or so. Just because if we, what page are we on right now? 11. So if we look at the original art page, which is I believe 5, no, 4. What we see, right, is sort of a layout of the house. This art is by Evelyn Monroe. You can check out her Patreon. It's super cool. So this is the room that we're currently in, room 3. So the description of the house is that it's sort of ramshackle put together, almost like an afterthought for each room built on top. And you can see that it's kind of like narrowing in. So I would imagine, this is probably a 20-foot room, maybe like 15 long and 10 wide or something. If not, a perfect square. So we've got the elk's head sticking outside. That's an interesting detail. I wonder how we interact with that. Anyway, so let's pop back to the page that we're on here. And I mean, of course, we are going to interact with some of these. I mean, maybe all of them, but at least a couple of them. So let's think about what our characters here would do. So, Spike had his leg turned to stone by drinking from one of the barrels, and King had his legs both doubled in size. But Brick and Blacktooth have not really had much happen to them. Brick did take a hit to his hit points last session, but otherwise everybody's pretty good. Now they are a little cautious. They're all, of the kind of thieving background, charlatan, pickpocket, smuggler, and pickpocket. So they are being cautious, I think, right? And having gone through what they so far have with a stork in a barrel that they really don't know how to deal with, um, because that's super weird. Even for weird fantasy settings, that's still super weird. And having talked to a bug in a head, I think that they're pretty um, cautious just in general about these stuffed creatures because of course giant bugs crawling out of one would make a person a little bit wary, you'd think, right? So there's four of these, but like Beholder, I don't think any of them would go to first. Basilisk, I definitely don't think that they would go to first. The Silver Dragon, it's a dragon, so that's a little scary. So probably Polar Bear, right? Like that's the one that they would probably start with. So the trophies will animate if approached. Now we can read here that the polar bear reacts well to cuddles and gifts, but shuts down if threatened, and he knows that Maribel, the witch, is depressed but loves stories. Bumbling worm easily confused. So how do we communicate with a bear? Do we assume that it talks common if we were to go up to it? And what kind of gifts do they? So okay, let's think about this narratively. So our guys, clamber up the ladder and they see all this stuff around them, and I think they, cautiously approach the polar bear, just to maybe see if there's um, anything worth taking in this room, right? Kind of casing the place, and as they do so, as they get right up to the bear, it kind of lurches to life. I guess it's still on its stand. I don't think it can move per se, but I think that the head itself animates. And so hmm, has it been enchanted to speak sort of a common tongue, right? English or whatever knaves speak. Or does it just kind of grunt and stuff in polar bear? Because like I don't have anybody that can speak to animals. So let's take an oracle roll, um, and see what happens. So let's find out. No, and so it doesn't speak. Um, it animates and kind of not roars, but like whines. I mean, if you've ever seen one of those like I don't know National Geographic spots on polar bears or any of those like nature documentaries on Netflix or whatever, you can kind of get that. You kind of know what I'm talking about. How they've got like sort of a whine that they can do, and so he does that, which startles our guys, of course. But as it doesn't, its arms and stuff don't move. I think they just kind of instinctively back up, and otherwise don't really deal with it. Um, yeah, I think like narratively, I know that what they're what they want us to do is they want us to get this information, right? The designer wants us to get this information, but he didn't specifically say that they speak a language that we can understand. So I'm breaking this on purpose to make it harder, make it harder for my knaves. So, seeing that the polar bear animated and being the curious chaps that they are, I think maybe what happens is that um, Brick goes for one of these others. Let's just split them by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and see what happens. Silver Dragon. So Brick kind of approaches the Silver Dragon cautiously, and it is warning, mournful, and wise. Reacts well to sympathy, but hates threats. Silver Dragon's head. Yeah, so they're kind of talking amongst each other as Brick approaches the Silver Dragon, and commenting that like that's a weird enchantment that's on the bear, and why would somebody do that kind of thing? And then the Silver Dragon kind of like animates its head as well, and um, says, "Oh, great visitors," in sort of a Winnie the Pooh Eeyore voice. And Brick will say, "Yeah, quite a situation you seem to be in. You're head on a wall." And the Silver Dragon will say something like, "I know. Um, Not much I can do about it here, or now, I guess." And they kind of converse back and forth for a little bit, and um, the Silver Dragon I don't think knows much, right? Like I'm gonna guess that the hunter killed it and mounted it, but that the witch Maribel probably ensorcelled it. And I think that's kind of all it knows about how it got here, and even probably that's all it knows about this place, right? Like it would have been dead outside and then came kind of quote unquote back to life, was bound to this, animated head, um, kind of after it had been you know, killed and put up into this area. So I don't think we can get a whole lot of information from it about how we're trapped here or how we can leave. It does say that there's a stork that has been maybe evading the huntress and is just loaded with coins, which Brick will kind of chuckle at and say, "Yeah, we uh, we caught him. We have those coins," and he'll jiggle a coin purse. Um, and I think that's maybe when the basilisk will pop in from nearby, and we'll say congratulations, um, and maybe we'll kind of call them over and be like, "Stop wasting your time with that pitiful dragon. All he does is whine and complain. Every time we have anyone in here, all he does is whine and complain. Oh, I'm a mounted head. Well, poor me." And so our guys, kind of come over and start talking to the basilisk head. Um, and let's see, hates pity. So do our guys take any pity for this guy? They kind of did last time. Yes. So, so they're like, "Oh, you too though. Like you're also stuck here. I hate this position that you're in. That kind of sucks to have been, mounted on a wall." And he gets a little annoyed and says, well, it could be worse. I could be dead forever. At least here I can sometimes talk, I guess. So the basilisk knows which door to take to leave the house. Well, which door? Which door leaves the house? I don't know this information. Oh, I think it's the other door on the front of the house, isn't it? Yes, that's right. Okay, so if we remember back to the very, very start, we were told that the one leads inside and one leads to doom. The door to the left will set you free, and the door on the left is a mirrored image of the PCs. The only way to leave the house. So our guys initially, I don't think we ever actually got that information. We know that as the players, we know that as the game master, right? Our game master head knows that, but our player head does not. So our players went through the right door just by random chance. So we did not previously know how to get out of here. So I'm gonna guess that kind of we talk back and forth with the basilisk, and we do pick up that information. He does let slip that the only way to leave this place, and maybe this ties back to the Stork Knight, right? Maybe the reason that they've had such trouble hunting him is because he's relatively fast, and um, they um, they can't, or the huntswoman rather, can't quite catch him in the amount of time that it takes him to like run around the house and get through the door to leave, and then he just keeps coming back like a cat came back the very next day kind of situation, where every time he leaves he ends up coming back with even more hoarded coins or random treasures and stuff that he almost mocks them with. So I guess that maybe that's the tie-in for how we figure out that the way to leave is through that left-hand door, which does present us with um, a bit of a choice, right? In whether or not we leave now with this information or keep pressing forward to see what else is in this strange house. For that matter, I don't know if our knaves believe this head, right? They might assume that that's a trap, that that's a trick. So let's do this. So what we'll do is we're going to ask the oracle. We're going to say, do any of our knaves believe this? And then if some of them do, we will roll to find out how many of our knaves believe that the door to leave is the left door. So that's no but. So I'm going to say that no but means that one of them does. So let's see which one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Who believes? So King. King is blue. So King believes that the door is in fact the way to leave. So King believes the basilisk is the way to leave. So the others, though, aren't sure about that, and they think that this might be a trick. we might have to find something, even if it's not a trick, it might be partial truth, right? We might have to find something else in this house before we're allowed to leave, right? Maybe without the right item, or maybe without the right passphrase or something, if we just get turned to dust. Um, there's certainly enough magic happening and weird stuff happening in this area that that's a logical leap to take, right? So, um, yeah, I think they maybe try to interrogate the beholder, but just as it says here, it's just noise, right? We're not getting anything useful from the beholder at all, and there's nothing else in the room that it mentions. So, after I feel like the knaves kind of argue um, between each other for a little bit, and then end up being like, you know what, it's 3-1. We're pretty sure that that this is not the way out, and or at least that we don't have enough information. So we're gonna keep going. And if you want to try leaving, then be my guest, right? Um, it would be a shame to split the team, but every man for himself. You got to do what you believe is right. So, hmm. So does King leave, right? Because like King does believe the boar. Does he leave? Yes. Well, okay, simple enough, I guess. So King descends the ladder and he's like, "Listen, guys, like I gotta take this chance, right? I'm not dying in this weird witch's hut. She could stuff me and mount me on the wall for all I know. There's there's too much that we don't know here. This is a chance. I'm gonna take it. And good luck, guys." And he takes off, and he heads down the stairs, or heads down the ladder, heads down the next ladder, stops in the kitchen, pets the cat really quickly, and heads outside, turns around and goes through that door. And then let's just read again what it said on the leaving. So, a mirrored image of the PCs, they'll move as the PCs move. The field stretches out behind them. If the PCs enter this door, they find themselves walking back towards the field that they walked through to get here, which is the only way to leave the house. Okay, so he opens it as this weird mirror, but I don't think that shakes his confidence, right? I think he's like, no, I've made this decision. It's what I'm gonna try, and so he steps into it, very Matrix style, and walks through the door and finds himself walking through the field. Now, they had tried to leave previously, right? When the bird initially told us in episode 1 that we couldn't leave, they had immediately been like, I don't believe that, and turned around and tried to walk back into the trees, but they kept finding as soon as they got into the trees, they would be flipped the other way, and they'd be walking back into the field towards the house. So he's a little bit trepidatious as the is that the right word? Doesn't matter. He's not quite sure as he hits that tree line, but then the trees do sort of engulf him, and he finds himself now removed from the strange house. So King leaves, and he finds himself in a new area. So that is something that we're going to keep in mind. Right? So let's see here. So this, right, this is the house. And I feel like this hex itself is the house is a full hex, is I guess what I'm trying to say, sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a mark here to say that king is in this hex, right? So he's stepped off the property into a forest. Oh no, that's not what I meant to do. Oops. Hey, I meant to hit erase. Well, that's not working. Oh, there we go. Okay, it did work. Um, good gracious. So anyway, king is outside, and as you can tell, I don't have a lot of experience in Tabletop Simulator. I prefer playing this at my table, but I don't have a setup for that just quite yet. I'm testing one. So yeah, king is out, but he is safe. So what we're gonna do is we're actually just going to swap these around, I think. So king is gonna come over here, and let's just make this maybe a little bit smaller. Right, we don't need it right yet. We might not need it again for this, but we may need it um, for continued adventures. Maybe this guy will be the only one to survive. Who knows? So we're down to 3 knaves, right? We've got Blacktooth, Brick, and Spike. And they are going to ascend to the next area, which is a greenhouse. So last time, just in case you didn't watch, last time we had kind of decided that that each floor is separated by a ladder, right? There's not really stairs in this house per se. There's like ladders or like those pull down kind of accordion style like attic stairs that you see in like what's a piece of movie that you might recognize, like Home Alone, right? Home Alone had that like attic stair drop down thing. Um, so maybe that's what they go up for this one, up into the greenhouse. So it's warm and balmy. Bright lights hang from the ceiling, creating heat. A small fountain in the middle continuously bubbles and shoots water into the air. The room is divided, so it's humid. It's quite humid in here. Divided into 4 quadrants, each one covered in bones, rotting carcasses, and foliage. They are separated by stone paths. The vines that snake upward towards the ceiling give the space a claustrophobic feel. 4 different colored flowers grow off of them. Alright, so it's covered in bones with maybe plants growing through the bones, right? If we're looking at this art. That's a little creepy. So, hmm, I I don't know if we want to touch any of these flowers. Yeah, I don't think that any of my guys would see a bunch of bones all over the floor and rotting carcasses and be like, "Oh yeah, we've got to pick whatever that is." Right? These guys aren't wizards or anything like that. Um, let's see. So the red flower smells of cinnamon and good memories, right? So it sparks some sort of memory based on the smell. Eating this flower causes, well, we don't know that. The blue flower smells of rain and moldy books. That's a wonderful smell. Eating this flower causes people to sob for 10 minutes. Okay. Black flower smells of summer nights and cold beer. Younger by 1d6. Cool. White flower smells of dirt and forgotten dreams. So, I think the most fair thing to do is to. So we've got 3 knaves. Let's see. Let's ask the oracle. This is going to be a simple question that we're going to roll 3 dice for. And we're going to say, do our knaves, are our knaves enticed by any of these flowers? Right? So, yes, no, yes, and, blah, blah, blah. So that's a yes, and 2 no buts, or no and. So, we're going to go green, right? Green for green, blue for white, and red for pink. So the one that was enticed is brick, right? The other 2 I think are like, no, there's, I'm actually kind of regretting that we didn't go with king and head through that door. But brick is like a siren's call, and he's going to go to one of these flowers. So which flower is it that he is interested in? 4. Does this one say? Cause a creature to forget who they are for 1d20 minutes. They effectively become a first level character again until the duration is up. Well, I am a first level character, so I'm not losing skill for that, but what I would say is that if we have to like roll against any of our stats, or if we have to attack, we'll be at disadvantage for attacking, and we won't apply any bonus to any of our stats. We'll just assume that these are all ones for the next room. Let's say that. Now we do get a hint, right? As the game masters, we know that Maribel, the wizard, is in the next room. So this is a potentially deadly consequence to the white flower. And I think that like part of the siren's call of the white flower is that he steps off the path, heedless of the vines that I feel like kind of react as he does so, kind of moving towards him and snaking along his boots and so forth. But he reaches out, grabs the white flower, and just chomps on it. And the other guys are like, Brick, what in the hell are you doing? And, he's, I'm going to guess that he's like just blissful as he chews on it, and then sort of like a vacant look kind of washes over his face, and they're like, Brick, like, get to the path, man. What are you doing? Like, let's go. Let's go to the next room. Let's find whatever's at the top of this stupid tower and get out of here. And he's like, who's Brick? Like, what are you talking about? Where am I? To which they're like, um, none of us know where we are, right? Like, what are you talking about? Stop goofing around. Um, get back to the path. And I think he's going to, right? He's going to be like, okay, well, I guess, yes, my name's Brick, right? And he's going to come back to the path, but he's no longer, he's kind of been the leader. Blacktooth I had assumed would be, but it is in fact Brick that has been doing the majority of actual like steaming forward. So I think he's gonna fall into the back now, right? And it's gonna be Blacktooth that leads the way up the ladder, which is going to take us to a bedroom. And that is a bedroom that we're going to get to next time. Looks like a good wrapping up point, 30 minutes in. So we'll take on the bedroom with Maribel next time, just as a sneak peek. This is Maribel. Look at that art. Isn't that awesome? So we will see what kind of shenanigans she's got in store for us. And goodness gracious, she's got a lot of shenanigans that she could do. But we'll see what happens with this next time. So until then, happy gaming.